Hello my friends and family, kindly sit comfortably and listen to this story. The story title, Endre and Annika Love turned to be a nightmare. Endre sat on a low wooden stool, sweat rolling down his forehead even though the shrine was cool and dim. The smell of burning incense hung in the air, thick enough to choke him. He had never believed he would end up here, staring at a man with white chalk markings across his chest, waiting for an answer that could change his life. The spiritualist's voice was calm but heavy, as if each word carried centuries of secrets. Your wife's spirit is restless. She carries burdens from her lineage. The oracle has spoken. Endre's heart thudded. What must I do? The man leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Only one way. Marry a second wife. If you refuse, your days are numbered. In her family's bloodline, no man survives after wedding their daughter without bringing in another woman. Defy this, and death will come. Endre froze. His mind spun. A second wife? He had promised Annika eternal loyalty. He had held her hand at the altar, vowing before God and men. And now this? He wanted to shout, to deny it, to claim the oracle was wrong. But deep inside, fear gnawed at him. He remembered the strange way Annika screamed at night, the dreams she couldn't explain, the way neighbors whispered when she walked past, calling her possessed, saying she carried an evil shadow. The spiritualist tapped the floor with a carved staff. It is either your life or your pride. Choose wisely. Endre swallowed hard. He thought back to where it all began. Endre was 5 years old when he first met Annika. He was running barefoot in the schoolyard, chasing a plastic ball that had lost its air, when he bumped into a tiny girl with ribbons in her hair. She was 3, small but stubborn, and she didn't fall when he crashed into her. Instead, she glared at him with wide brown eyes. "Why did you push me?" she demanded. "I didn't push you," Endre said, brushing dust off his shorts. "The ball pushed me." Annika tilted her head, considering his excuse. Then, instead of crying or complaining, she smiled. "Next time, don't let the ball control you." Endre blinked. He had never met a 3-year-old who spoke like that. From that day, he followed her everywhere, as if some invisible string tied them together. Their teachers noticed. Endre carried Annika's lunchbox. Annika shared her colorful pencils with Endre. They sat side by side in class, even when the teacher tried to separate them. By the time they reached secondary school, their bond had grown stronger. Other children teased them, calling them husband and wife. Endre would laugh it off, while Annika rolled her eyes. But deep down, they both knew something special was forming. Annika's family was wealthy. Her father was a respected businessman with properties across the Caribbean, while her mother was known for her love of traditional culture. Their mansion had chandeliers, marble floors, and servants who bowed whenever Annika walked past. Endre's family lived in a modest house. They weren't poor, but they weren't rich either. His father worked in an office, his mother managed a small shop. They had enough to eat, enough to be comfortable, but nothing compared to Annika's luxury. Yet Annika preferred Endre's world. She loved visiting his home, sitting on the floor, eating simple meals with her hands. "It feels real here," she would say. "No one is pretending." Endre, on the other hand, felt intimidated whenever he visited her mansion. He worried about using the wrong spoon at dinner, or staining the white couches. But Annika always made him feel at ease. She would drag him to the garden, where they would laugh and chase each other like children, forgetting the gap between their families. School years in secondary school, their talents began to shine. Endre was obsessed with computers. He would spend hours in the school lab, teaching himself to code, building small programs that amazed his teachers. Annika, on the other hand, loved machines. While other girls decorated their notebooks with flowers and hearts, she filled hers with sketches of engines and gears. Teachers shook their heads at her unusual interest, but she didn't care. "We're going to be the best," Anika told Endre one afternoon as they sat under a tree. "You with your computers, me with my machines. We'll build something that changes the world." Endre grinned. "First, let's survive our exams." They laughed, but deep down, they both believed her words. University dreams. Their journey continued at university. By some twist of fate, they both gained admission to the same school. Endre studied software engineering. Anika chose mechanical engineering. They worked hard, burning midnight oil, competing with each other in grades. By the time they graduated, both had achieved first-class honors. Their professors spoke highly of them. Their classmates admired them. But for Endre and Anika, the greatest achievement was knowing they had walked the journey together, from childhood to adulthood. First intimacy. It wasn't until Endre was 25 and Anika was 23 that they took their relationship to a deeper level. They had always been close, but now they were adults, and the bond between them demanded expression. The night was tender, filled with nervous laughter, whispered promises, and gentle exploration. For both of them, it felt natural, as if their bodies had been waiting all those years for that moment. Afterward, as they lay together, Anika whispered, "I feel closer to you than ever." Endre kissed her forehead. "Me too." From then on, their love grew even stronger. They believed nothing could separate them. Tragedy, but life had other plans. Anika's parents died in a plane crash. The news shattered her. She had always been especially close to her mother, who told her traditional stories every night until she fell asleep. Now that voice was gone, and with it, Anika's peace. She began to change. At night, she screamed from nightmares. Sometimes she spoke in her sleep, in languages Endre didn't understand. Other times she sat in silence, staring into space, as if trapped between worlds. Neighbors gossiped. Some said she was haunted. Others said she had lost her mind. Endre tried to comfort her, but nothing worked. And as the days passed, he began to fear what he couldn't explain. Back to the oracle. Endre's voice trembled as he asked the spiritualist, "Are you saying, if I don't marry another woman, I will die?" The man nodded solemnly. "That is the curse of her lineage. Many before you tried to defy it. None survived." Endre felt as though the ground was slipping beneath him. His love for Anika was deep, but now it was poisoned with fear. Could he betray her to save himself? Could he watch her sink deeper into darkness without help? The staff struck the floor again. "Choose quickly. Time is not your friend." Endre closed his eyes. His mind raced through the years, through playground laughter, shared meals, late-night studies, tender moments. He had walked every step of life with Anika. But now, standing at the edge of an abyss, he wondered if love was strong enough to withstand the weight of destiny. After the wedding felt like a sunrise. Endre watched Anika dance in a white dress that moved like water. Friends shouted. Aunties sprayed money. Laughter rose like a chorus. For one bright day, the world forgot the crash, the whispers, the sleepless nights. Endre held her hands and thought, "We made it." He promised himself to protect this peace. The first night in their new apartment was quiet. New curtains, new bed, new hopes. Anika rested her head on his chest. Her breath was soft. Endre stared at the ceiling and listened to the city hum. He wanted this calm to last. He slept. At 2 in the morning, Anika sat up. Her eyes were open but far away. She began to hum an old lullaby, the same song her mother had used. Her voice was low. Her rhythm was exact. Then the melody broke into a chant Endre had never heard. He reached for her hand. Anika's voice sharpened. She turned to the wall and spoke in a thick accent. The words felt heavy, like rocks rolling across a wooden floor. Endre could not follow. She stopped suddenly and looked at him as if waking from a dream. She whispered, "I am thirsty." He brought water. Her hand shook as she drank. She lay back down. She fell asleep at once. Endre stayed awake till morning. The next day she did not remember the song. She complained of a headache. She said the lights felt too bright. She said the air felt thin. Endre cooked porridge. She ate a little. He kissed her forehead and felt fever. He called the clinic. The doctor said to monitor her for a day. He did. Night 2. The lullaby returned. The unknown chant returned. She did not scream, yet the room felt crowded, as if others listened from the corners. Endre stood up and switched on the light. Anika blinked and asked why he was awake. He forced a smile. He said he was fine. He was not fine. Endre tried to keep life normal. He left for work at 8. He coded for a startup. He came home by 6. He made dinner. He checked on Anika. He watched for signs. He tried not to show fear. Some nights were calm. Some nights opened like a door to a dark forest. One evening, Anika placed a small calabash bowl on their table. It had carvings of waves and birds. Endre asked where she got it. She said it belonged to her mother. She said her mother used it for stories. She smiled a little at the memory. She traced the birds with her finger. She said, "When I was small, we shared stories until I slept." Her smile faded. She looked out the window. Endre hugged her. The strange dreams deepened. Anika began to see her mother in reflect irons. She said she saw her in the mirror for a second. Then she said she saw her in the microwave door. Then in the kettle. A flash of a familiar face. The face looked calm. Then the face looked stern. Then the face looked sad. Endre suggested grief counseling. Anika said she would try. She booked a session and attended. She came home quiet. She said the counselor asked about the crash. She said the counselor asked about her culture. She said the counselor did not understand the stories. She said she did not feel seen. At night, Anika's body tensed in sleep. Her fingers curled. Her jaw clenched. She whispered her mother's name. She whispered a list of places. Names of islands. Names of rivers. Names of shrines. Names of things Endre did not know. His chest tightened. He felt helpless. Neighbors started to talk. The woman on the second floor said she heard drums in their flat at midnight. They had no drums. The man by the gate said he saw Anika standing in the corridor at 3 in the morning. He said she spoke to the wall. He said he heard a second voice. A voice that did not match hers. Endre thanked him and walked away. His stomach turned. Endre's mother visited and brought soup. She watched Anika with soft eyes. She waited until Anika went to bathe. She took Endre aside and asked if Anika was pregnant. He said no. She asked if Anika had seen a doctor. He said yes. His mother lowered her voice. She asked if he had prayed. He said yes. She said, "Pray more." He nodded. He wanted answers, not advice. He felt guilty for thinking that. Anika grew restless in the afternoons. She began to sort objects by shape and color. She lined up spoons from small to large. She arranged books by height. She placed 3 candles on the windowsill and spaced them with exact care. When Endre moved one by mistake, Anika grew pale. She moved it back. She apologized for snapping. She said she did not recognize herself. She began to cry. Endre held her and did not speak. Words felt useless. She tried to work. She opened a design software on her laptop to sketch engine parts. The lines looked wrong to her. She closed it. She tried again. She closed it again. She stared at the screen and whispered, "Where did my mind go?" Endre said it was still there. He said grief had thrown dust in the air. He said they would wait for it to settle. She nodded but did not look convinced. At dinner, she began to leave a small portion of food in the calabash bowl. Endre asked why. She said it made her feel close to her mother. She said it was a way to honor her. Endre did not argue. He respected her pain. He worried about the pattern forming. One bowl became two, two became three. She placed them in a triangle. She drew a circle around them with chalk. He watched and said nothing. His heart pounded. The breaking point came after a week of little sleep. They went to a small Caribbean cultural night in town. Anika wanted to hear traditional music. She said the rhythms helped her breathe. The hall was warm and sweet with spices. Drums began. Singers clapped and swayed. Anika closed her eyes and rocked. At first, she looked peaceful. Then her shoulders jerked. Her fingers twisted into her skirt. Her breath grew shallow. She whispered, "Mama." She whispered, "Do not leave me." A singer stepped down and reached for Anika's hand. Anika flinched. She hissed. The room went silent. Endre stood. He pulled Anika close. He apologized to the singer. He led Anika outside. The night air felt like a splash of water. Anika trembled in his arms. She said, "I smell smoke. Do you smell smoke?" He did not. He said, "Let us go home." That night she did not sleep. She walked from window to door, from door to table, from table to bed. She whispered the names again. Islands, rivers, shrines. She touched the calabash bowls. She drew small signs with chalk on the floor. Circles, lines, a simple cross. She wiped them away at dawn. She looked ashamed. She asked Endre not to tell anyone. He promised to keep it private. He could see her drowning. He did not know how to swim in that kind of water. Endre began to have thoughts that scared him. He remembered the oracle. He remembered the warning. He pushed the words away. He focused on food, on light walks, on small jokes. He tried humor. He called her engineer queen. She smiled for a second. The smile faded like a small flame in wind. A week later, Anika woke with a bruise on her arm. She did not know how it got there. She also had scratches on her ankle. The marks formed 3 lines, equal in length, equal in space. Endre measured them with a pen cap and felt sick at the perfect match. He told himself it could be the bed frame. He checked the bed frame. No sharp parts. He checked the drawers. Smooth edges. He found nothing. He hid the worry behind a calm face. He failed. She saw his eyes. She turned away and hugged her knees. She told Endre her dreams in daylight for the first time. She said there was a house by the sea. The windows had no glass, only frames. The curtains were blue. A woman sat by the window with a bowl in her lap. The bowl had birds on it. The woman's lips moved, but the sound did not come out. The water outside rose and fell. Each wave carried faces. Some faces smiled. Some frowned. Some looked hungry. The woman pointed at the door. The door opened itself. A shadow stood there. Not a man. Not a woman. Not a shape she could name. The shadow did not move, but Anika felt it move. She woke with her heart running. Endre listened and took notes in a small pad. He wanted to map the pattern. He wanted to fight the unknown with logic. He asked if the dreams changed each night. She said the house stayed the same. The bowl stayed the same. The faces in the waves changed. The shadow grew taller. He wrote down every detail. He drew the bowl. He drew the birds. He drew the window. He drew the door. His hand shook. He searched online for dream meanings. He read about grief. He read about sleep paralysis. He read about cultural symbolism. He read until his eyes burned. He found no answer that satisfied him. Everything felt partial. Everything felt shallow compared to what they lived. 2 days later, he returned early from work. The apartment smelled like herbs. Anika sat on the floor in front of the calabash bowls. She had lit a small candle. She sang the lullaby in a low voice. The words shook. She placed a slice of ripe plantain in each her shoulder. She flinched and then relaxed. She said, "I am scared." He said, "I am here." The next morning, they met with a respected elder from the Caribbean community, a calm man with kind eyes. He listened without judgment. He spoke softly about grief and tradition. He said the line between memory and spirit can feel thin after a loss. He asked what Anika wanted. She said she wanted sleep. She wanted her mother. She wanted silence in her head. The elder taught them a simple evening routine, a spoken prayer, a closing of the day, a thank you for the past, a release for the night. They tried it. It helped a little for 3 nights. On the 4th night, the shadow returned in her dream. Taller, closer, Endre felt the walls closing. He loved Anika. He also feared the future. He pictured children in a home that never slept. He pictured himself growing thin from constant watch. He pictured the oracle's face. The warning refused to fade. A small incident broke him. He returned from the store with bread and eggs. He found the apartment door open. The chalk circle was back on the floor. The bowls were full. Anika stood on a chair and reached toward the ceiling corner. She held a ribbon. She spoke softly to the corner. The ribbon trembled like it was pulled from above. Endre ran to hold the chair. He asked what she was doing. She said, "I am tying the wind so the house can rest." He felt a cold wave move through him. He guided her down. He tried to smile. He failed again. That night, after Anika slept, Endre stepped outside and sat on the stairs. He stared at the streetlights and heard voices in his head. He heard his mother say, "Pray more." He heard the elder say, "Grief can blur the lines." He heard the clinic doctor say, "Monitor and return if it worsens." He heard neighbors whisper. Then he heard the spiritualist. Only one way. He pressed his hands against his eyes. He did not want his mind to go where it was going. He stood and made a choice he hated. He went back to the shrine. The spiritualist looked at him like he had been expecting this visit. He marked the floor with white chalk. He shook a gourd and listened. He asked questions. He did not wait for answers. He said the shadow was an echo of an old vow made by a woman in Anika's line. He said the vow had a price. He said every man who married into that line must balance the house with a second wife. He repeated it. He said there was no other door. Endre asked if prayer could help. The man said prayer without the rite was like a drum without skin, soundless. Endre asked if a rite could replace the second wife. The man said no. He said the second wife was the rite. Endre left with a paper charm and a head full of fog. He hid the charm in his pocket. He told no one. He walked home slowly. He tried to breathe. He felt like he had betrayed Anika by listening. At home, Anika sat by the window. She looked calm. She held a calabash and ran her fingers over the birds again. She asked where he went. He lied. He said he bought credit for the internet. She nodded. She leaned her head on his shoulder. She asked if he believed she was cursed. He said no. She asked if he would stay if this never stopped. He did not answer fast enough. She felt the pause. She pulled away. Her eyes glossed with tears. She whispered, "I am sorry for bringing this storm to you." He said she was not a storm. He sounded unconvincing to his own ears. They tried a new routine. Morning walks, afternoon naps, evening tea, light music, soft lamps, no screens after 9. It helped a little. The dream still returned. The mark still appeared. The neighbors still talked. The elder still encouraged patience. The clinic booked a follow-up. The counselor tried grounding exercises. Some days were better. Most nights were not. One night, the lullaby changed. It bent into a harsh tone. The unknown chant came like a whip crack. The apartment air thickened. The candle flame grew long and thin. The chalk marks on the floor that Endre had wiped reappeared. He had not drawn. He watched them fall in a faint said, "Do you see it?" He said, "Yes." She said, "It wants something." He said, "What?" She said, "I do not know." In the morning, Andre packed a small bag. He placed the charm inside. He told Anika he had an errand. He went to a friend in another part of town, a quiet, careful man named Tunde. He trusted Tunde. He had worked with him 4 years. He told him everything. Tunde listened. Tunde did not laugh. Tunde did not judge. Tunde said, "You need a second opinion. Not from a spiritualist, from a different kind of elder." Tunde gave him a number. The elder he met lived in a modest flat lined with books. Not a shrine, not a clinic. The man had a scholar's face and a steady voice. He listened. He asked precise questions. He said the Caribbean has a rich web of traditions. He said vows, names, and objects carry weight. He asked about the calabash. He asked about the lullaby. He asked whether Anika's mother had ever spoken of a promise. Andre said he did not know. The man said, "Do not rush to a second wife." He said there are rites of closure for the dead. He said there are rites of release for the living. He said to bring Anika if she agreed. Andre returned home with a small spark of hope. He told Anika about the scholar elder. She agreed to go. They set a date for Saturday. Friday night came with thick clouds. Wind pushed at the windows. The lullaby rose again. The chant cut in. The candle bent. The chalk shimmered. The air pressed on Andre's chest. Anika sat up slowly. She looked past him to the doorway. She said, "Mama." Then her face changed. Her eyes went hard. She pointed at Andre's pocket. She said, "What are you hiding?" Her voice was not her usual tone. He froze. He reached into his pocket and felt the charm. He pulled it out. She stared at it with something like disgust. She said, "Throw it away." He said, "It can help." She shook her head slowly. She said, "Not that. Not from that place." He walked to the kitchen bin and dropped the charm. He returned to the bed. She exhaled. The air softened. The candle steadied. Her shoulders fell. She lay back and closed her eyes. She slept within a minute. Andre sat still all night and watched the door. At dawn, rain began. Soft at first, then louder. Andre brewed tea and brought it to Anika. She woke and drank. She did not remember asking him to throw away the charm. She said she slept well. He nodded and hid his shaking hands by holding the cup. They dressed and took a cab to the scholar elder. The library smell calmed Andre. The elder welcomed them. He looked at Anika with respect. He asked for her mother's name. He asked for her grandmother's name. He asked whether the women in her line told stories across generations at night. Anika said yes. He nodded. He said, "Then we begin here." He asked Anika to place the calabash on the table. She did. He ran his fingers near, not on it, as if feeling a faint heat. He said the bowl was an altar of memory. He said the stories had become a bridge. He said the bridge was strong while her mother lived, because the teller knew where to stop. He said, without the teller, the bridge now reaches into places it should not. He explained a rite of closure that involved a final story read aloud. He said the story must end with a firm goodbye. He said the last words matter. He said the living must close the door, not the dead. Anika listened and cried quietly. She said she wanted to try. The elder gave them a short script to adapt. He told them to add their own memory of a good night with her mother. He told them to finish with, "Your stories made me strong. Now I will sleep on my own. Rest in peace." The elder asked Andre to read the final line with her. Together, he said unity matters. They went home before sunset. They switched off phones. They set the calabash on the table. They placed a small flower in it. They sat close. Anika spoke first. She told a story her mother always told about a girl who fed the sea with songs. She kept it brief. She did not chant. She did not hum. Her voice shook but held steady. Andrei added a memory of Annika and her mother laughing over a burned cake. Not to mock, to honor the warmth. Annika smiled through tears. Then they read the closing words together. Your stories made me strong. Now I will sleep on my own. Rest in peace. They blew out the candle. They wiped the chalk lines. They washed the bowls and left them empty. They sat in the quiet and waited. Night fell. Annika slept. She did not sing. She did not chant. She did not twitch. Andrei stayed awake, half in hope, half in fear. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock. 2. At 3. Annika stirred and turned. She sighed like someone finishing a long run. She slept on. Andrei covered her with the blanket and let himself breathe. At 7 in the morning, Annika woke and stretched. She said she felt light. She said she dreamed of a shore with calm water. No faces in the waves. No shadow at the door. She said she heard her mother laugh once and then fade like a candle at dawn. She cried. He cried too. They held each other and did not speak. The day felt new. They cooked. They ate. They stepped outside. The air smelled clean after the rain. A small bird landed on the railing and shook water from its wings. They both laughed at the same time. It felt like a sign, small but kind. By evening, the calm held. Andrei dared to hope. He stepped into the shower and let hot water pound his shoulders. He closed his eyes and smiled. When he opened them, he saw it. 3 faint chalk lines on the fogged glass, equal in length, equal in space. No hand had drawn. His stomach turned to ice. He stepped out quickly and wiped the glass. The lines remained for a second longer than they should have. Then they faded. He walked out to the living room. Annika sat with tea. She looked peaceful. He did not tell her. He pressed the towel to his face and tried to breathe. That night, the lullaby did not return. The chant did not return. But the apartment felt watched. Not hostile. Not warm. Only alert. Andrei lay awake and stared at the ceiling. The oracle's words rose again. Only one way. The scholar elder's words rose too. Close the bridge. He felt pulled between them. He turned to Annika. She slept with her hand open on the pillow, as she used to in simpler times. He placed his palm near hers and stopped a few inches short. He could not bring himself to touch. He was afraid to wake whatever had settled. Morning came. Some cut lines across the floor. Andrei brewed coffee and stared at the street. He thought about fate. He thought about vows. He thought about rules written before he was born. He thought about the future he wanted. He thought about the second wife the oracle demanded.